My fiancé told me, Evan makes me feel alive, I don't need you. So I took back my $30,000, canceled the wedding, and walked away forever. I 29M thought I had my whole life figured out. For almost 4 years, I was engaged to Rachel 27F, the woman I believed was going to be my forever. From the very first day, I gave everything into the relationship. I was not the kind of man to hold back or keep score. Whenever she needed me, I was there without a second thought. During the years she was struggling in grad school, I picked up the bills she couldn't pay, cooked the meals she was too tired to make, and did the little things to keep us steady. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I loved her and I believed that what we had was real. When she finally graduated, I felt proud of her, but I also felt proud of us. I told myself that we had made it through the toughest part and that the rest would be easier. I didn't just support her emotionally. I put real money into our future. We opened a joint savings account, and I transferred $30,000 of my own money into it. That wasn't just numbers sitting on a screen for me. That money was meant to be the foundation of the house we would buy after the wedding, the start of the family we had talked about so many times while sitting on the couch at night. It was my way of showing her that I trusted her completely, that I was building a life with her and only her. For a while, life was good. We would stay up late laughing at silly shows, talking about baby names, and sharing dreams about the future we both claimed to want. I thought we were on the same page, moving at the same pace, dreaming the same dreams. But slowly, subtly at first, things began to shift. At first, the changes were small enough that I brushed them off as nothing serious. Rachel would tell me she was too busy or too tired whenever I suggested a date night, something that used to be a regular part of our relationship. I tried to be understanding, convincing myself that work was stressful and that she just needed space to adjust to her new routine. But then her work trips became more frequent, and she started staying out late with people I barely knew. Whenever I asked about these new friends, she rolled her eyes at me and accused me of being insecure or controlling. The truth was, I wasn't jealous. I was confused. I felt a growing distance between us that I couldn't explain, and deep down I carried a quiet fear that I didn't want to admit even to myself. Her social media, which she once barely touched, suddenly transformed into a highlight reel of a life that hardly seemed to include me anymore. There were photos of rooftop bars, expensive dinners, and selfies with faces I didn't recognize. I found myself scrolling through those posts at night, fighting that heavy feeling in my chest as I realized I no longer recognized the woman I was supposed to marry. Still, I kept telling myself it was just a phase. She was stressed. She needed time. Things would eventually get better. One evening, I tried to reconnect with her the way we used to. I cooked her favorite pasta, lit candles, and opened a bottle of wine. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a simple attempt to remind her that we didn't need fancy nights out to feel close. She walked in late, barely noticed the effort, and muttered that she was too tired to eat. Then she went straight to the bedroom, scrolling through her phone until she fell asleep. I sat at the table alone, staring at 2 untouched plates of food, and for the first time, I truly wondered if I was losing her right in front of my eyes. Even then, I refused to let go. We were engaged. We had plans. I thought love was enough to pull us through whatever phase she was going through. I told myself that even if she didn't show it as much anymore, she still loved me deep down. But looking back now, I realized that I had been ignoring all the red flags that were right there, waving boldly in front of me. The breaking point came when she told me about a weekend work retreat in Miami. She said it so casually, as if it were just another obligation, but something about the way she delivered it didn't sit right. Her company was small, and I had never heard of them doing retreats before, especially not in Miami. I nodded, wished her a safe trip, and kept my doubts quiet. But deep inside, I knew something was off. 2 days later, my college buddy sent me a message that would change everything. He had been browsing Facebook when he stumbled across a picture that made his jaw drop. It was Rachel, not at a work retreat, but at a luxury beach resort, holding hands with a man I immediately recognized, Evan. The same Evan she had always brushed off as just a colleague. The same Evan she accused me of being paranoid about whenever I asked why she was spending so much time with him. And there they were together, standing in the hotel lobby like newlyweds on a honeymoon. I remember staring at that picture with a strange mix of emotions. It wasn't the dramatic kind of heartbreak you see in movies. It wasn't screaming or shattering glass. It was quiet, almost hollow, a cold confirmation of what I had been denying for months. She wasn't mine anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. When Rachel returned that Sunday night, she walked into the apartment smiling like nothing had happened. She rolled her suitcase across the floor, sat down, and started telling me all about the retreat. I let her talk. I let her spin her story. And then I pulled out my phone and placed the picture in front of her. First, she didn't even flinch. She crossed her arms, leaned back, and insisted that it had been a group trip and that I was twisting things. But I didn't argue. I just looked at her in silence. That was when her mask slipped. Her voice turned sharp, and with a cold expression, she spat out words I'll never forget. Evan makes me feel alive. I don't need you. I have better options. Those words cut through me like ice. Not because I didn't already know what was going on, but because hearing them out loud made everything real. It wasn't just a suspicion anymore. It was the truth, spoken without guilt or shame. For a long moment I said nothing. I just sat there, looking at the woman I thought I would marry. She didn't look guilty. She didn't even look sorry. If anything, she looked relieved, like she had finally freed herself from having to pretend. And in that moment, something changed inside me. I realized that I didn't have to beg or argue or prove my worth. She had already made her choice. I didn't shout. I didn't break down. I didn't throw anything. I just looked at her calmly and said, "Then you won't need my help anymore either." She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and walked toward the bedroom, muttering that I would regret this. But deep down, I knew I wouldn't. That night, after she fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the ceiling. I expected to feel rage, or maybe to break down in tears, but instead what I felt was something different. It was clarity. For the first time in months, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I no longer had to second guess, no longer had to convince myself that things would get better. Rachel had already shown me exactly where I stood in her life, as nothing more than a backup until something she considered better came along. I opened my laptop, logged into our joint bank account, and transferred back every dollar I had contributed. $30,000 that was meant to build our home and our future was now safely back in my own account. That money was mine. It had never been hers to squander. With that done, I picked up the phone and called the wedding venue. Because the contract was under my name and we still had several months before the scheduled date, I was able to cancel and recover most of the deposit. Hanging up the call felt strangely liberating, like closing a door I should have locked long ago. The next morning, I packed my things into boxes and moved out. I left the apartment to her, at least for the time being. What she didn't realize was that I had been quietly covering a portion of the rent without telling her. That ended immediately too. Piece by piece, I untangled my life from hers. No more bills paid by me. No more streaming services under my subscriptions. No more credit cards quietly funding her lifestyle. It didn't take long before reality hit her. She tried ordering food one night only to discover that the card she was using, my card, had been canceled. She tried logging into Netflix and Prime, only to find those accounts were gone too. She called me in a fit of rage, but I didn't answer. And then the bigger problems began to surface. Evan, the man who was supposed to be her better option, disappeared almost overnight. His own girlfriend found out about their Miami trip and left him. Evan didn't want to be caught in the fallout, so he cut Rachel off completely. She tried to lean on her parents next, but when they found out the real reason our wedding had been canceled, they were furious. They told her flat out that she had made her bed, and now she would have to lie in it. They refused to cover her rent or her expenses. Within weeks, her landlord filed for eviction because she had been behind on payments, something I hadn't known before. Apparently, much of the money I had been giving her for bills had been spent elsewhere. With nowhere else to turn, she moved in with her sister just to have a roof over her head. Through all of this, I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in. I didn't post about it online or tell every mutual friend what had happened. I simply stepped back and allowed her own choices to catch up with her. She sent me a long, angry text one night saying, "You ruined my life. I can't believe you abandoned me when I needed you most." But I didn't respond, because the truth was simple. I hadn't ruined anything. She was the one who walked away long before I did. All I did was finally stop carrying the weight of someone who never intended to carry it with me. Meanwhile, my own life took a very different turn. The very day I settled into my new apartment, surrounded by boxes and silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. There was no more constant tension. No more fear of her mood changing. No more wondering if I was enough. For the first time in a long time, the quiet felt comforting instead of lonely. I reconnected with friends I had drifted away from during the relationship. We shared beers, laughed about old college memories, and I realized how much of myself I had lost trying to keep Rachel happy. Even at work, people noticed the change in me. My boss pulled me aside, told me he respected how I handled the breakup, and even granted me extra time off. Not long after that, I received a promotion. It felt like life itself was rewarding me for finally choosing myself. As for Rachel, her glamorous image slowly crumbled. The friends she showed off on social media drifted away. Word spread about the Miami trip, and many were not surprised to learn that Evan hadn't been the first colleague she crossed the line with. Her Instagram went quiet. She picked up part-time jobs just to survive, still living with her sister, and that glow she used to show off was gone. Months later, I received another text from her. This one was shorter. "You ruined my life." I read it slowly, shook my head, and put the phone down, because by then, I knew the truth clearer than ever. I didn't ruin anything. She did. Looking back, I realize Rachel gave me an unexpected gift. She forced me to wake up to the truth about love and loyalty. Real relationships aren't built on convenience or options. They're built on trust, respect, and partnership. She once told me, "I don't need you. I have better options." But in the end, she learned that options don't equal loyalty. And when those options crumbled, she was left with nothing. As for me, I am stronger, freer, and happier than I ever imagined I could be. I am no longer living for someone else's validation. I am living for myself. And if there's one thing I've learned from this journey, it's that walking away from someone who doesn't value you is never a loss. It's a victory. I appreciate you watching till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this.